I'm Officer Candidate Wetherington. I graduated basic training from Fort Jackson, South Carolina on December 1st, and I'm currently in Officer Candidate School training to be an officer. So I joined the Army National Guard because, first of all, my father's been in the National Guard for 20-some-odd years. It's family legacy. I also joined the National Guard because it was a way to give back to my community while serving my country and still being in the military and keeping my civilian goals at the same time. So you experience a lot of different challenges while at basic training. It's hard to pinpoint one, but for me personally, I think one of my biggest challenges was meeting so many different people from walks of life. It's kind of hard to get along with everybody. But at basic combat training, the biggest thing is teamwork. Teamwork is what gets you through the day. Teamwork is what gets the mission accomplished. Teamwork is a big key factor in basic combat training. And I kind of had to learn how to work with people that I didn't have the same mindset as. I had to learn to work with people who had different attitudes than me. I had to learn with people who had even just different, I guess, lingo than I did. You know, it's a challenging thing when you got people coming from different walks of life, different experiences in life, and you put them all in a room because not everybody comes from the same place. Not everybody has the same attitude towards certain things. And at the end of the day, you kind of have to work together, regardless if you like each other or not, regardless of whether or not you guys are best buddies. At the end of the day, teamwork is what gets the mission accomplished, and that's what matters in basic combat training. One thing I wish I knew or prepared for prior to leading Army basic training, honestly, was basic rifle marksmanship. That's one of the biggest things at basic training. Your entire white phase is going to be entirely that. You're going to be at the range every day for 1, 2, almost 3 weeks, just learning your basic rifle marksmanship skills, learning your skills, learning how to shoot, how to do this. My biggest advice for that is not everybody comes from a state where weapons are accessible. I understand that. Look into it online. Look into the 4 principles of rifle marksmanship. Look into what it takes to be a good shot. And if you can practice, if you can't, just study it and research as much as possible. That way, when you're there, you have the answers ready to go. My one tip or my one piece of advice to anybody waiting to ship out for Army basic training: exercise. Don't go there thinking that you're going to get in shape. You probably are going to get in shape, but it's better to be prepared than to go there unprepared and slow. Your biggest thing is you got ACFTs, running everywhere you go. It's mandatory you have to run everywhere you go with a battle buddy. Fitness is a key thing in basic training. You're going to be doing a lot of push-ups. You're going to be doing a lot of running. I mean, like excessive amounts of running. You're going to be doing sit-ups. You're going to be doing pull-up exercises. Your best bet now is to start changing your dietary habits because you're not going to be eating the sweets and stuff that you have there. Change your dietary habits and start working out now. So when you get there, you're better prepared. That's tough because there's a lot of memorable events from basic training, but I would probably have to say the Forge is probably one of the most memorable events. The hardest thing that everybody has to do is your 12-mile ruck march. At basic training, you meet a lot of good friends. You come up with a lot of good battle buddies that you guys just click with and you guys become lifelong friends. So for me, the Forge is just it because everybody's doing this sucky event together and you guys are just having fun, embracing it, making the best of it. You're doing obstacle courses, you're doing battle drills, doing basic rifle marksmanship. It's just a fun time. You're encompassing everything that you've learned in basic into a 3-day period, and you're just having fun with all your friends. And it's just an awesome course that it just can't be re-experienced. If I could change one thing about basic training, what would it be? I'd probably say the time management at basic training. So personally, for me, I can't speak on other companies or other platoons or anything like that. But for me, one of our biggest challenges was time management on the end of our cadre. And it's not really their fault. That comes down from just other issues. They're dealing with 240 people at a time, if not more. Issues from other people as well. They're trying to get everybody situated. And time management just comes into like a huge thing there. Like when you're dealing with 240 other people's problems, you kind of forget things or things don't go according to the exact schedule that it's supposed to be. So for example, if you have chow at 6:45 in the morning and you have to get there by 7 and some kid got hurt and now he has to be escorted to medical, it's not going to go exactly according to plan the way that it's supposed to. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I would probably change about basic training if possible. I'd allow for more leeway with the time slots. Yeah, so when you first get on your bus and you arrive at Fort Jackson at the actual basic training area, you get off the bus, of course, drill sergeants are there, they're screaming at you, pick up this stuff. So basically you have like your ACMT equipment or things that would simulate a real world experience for the ACMC equipment and what the ACT measures. So you'd have like your ammo cans, you'd have your sled, which is to use to carry casualties, things like that, things that you use in a real combat experience. And basically you're told to just pick up the ammo cans and run down to the CTA, which is where your barracks are, your bay is. Same thing, you're told to pick up the water jugs, along with the water jugs that are full. You're told to pick up the sled, carry the sled, and then you have to, when you get down there, you have to assemble it the way that it was when you first saw it there, how it was assembled when you first got there, because that shows attention to detail, that you're paying attention to detail, and that's how they recreated the first 100 yards at Fort Jackson. Oh, it's definitely a lot more tame than what it used to be. I mean, you still have the experience of drill sergeants yelling at you, screaming at you, making you exercise, making you hold stuff over your head, making you carry this heavy equipment that you're probably not prepared to carry because you didn't realize how heavy it was. But it's definitely not as bad as it was before, where they're in your face screaming at you as soon as you get off the bus. It's more of like a motivational screaming and like a shock and awe factor, and then it kind of just tones down after day 0. Yeah, so Fort Jackson is still conducting the yellow phase, which is technically your first phase. Quarantine for COVID and a lot of admin paperwork. And then from there you move on to red, white, and then blue phase, and then victory phase. So the Hammer FTX is the first field training exercise that you do. It's an overnight experience. Basically you ruck, I believe it's 5 miles, if I remember correctly. You ruck with all your gear on, you have your rifle and everything. You go out into the woods and you establish what's called a patrol base. You dig 2-man fighting positions in triangular formation, and then you're told to sleep in them overnight, which is probably like the last thing that you expect. All in all, it was a fun experience. You know, the ruck was, nobody really expected it, and was hard at first. Those get easier as time goes on, and you know, it was a fun experience doing battle drills. You're doing your bounds, you're doing your you're digging your hasty fighting positions. You know, it's really a lot of fun. Actually, it gives you an experience that you've probably never had out in the woods doing these kinds of things. So the anvil, like I said, was fun. It's similar to the hammer. You go out, you do a 8-mile ruck, I believe. You do an 8-mile ruck march, have all your gear, all your weapons. You go out into the field, you take your hasty fighting positions, you have your patrol base established. The best part about that is the cadre attacking you at night. So your patrol base, you're supposed to establish security 33%. If you're at Apex, you're supposed to have at least 50%. And in the middle of the night, the cadre throw a simulated flashbang into the patrol base to see who's pulling security and who's not. So they basically mock attack the patrol base. It's a lot of fun. They tell people that they're casualties and they're trying to steal your guide on. It's, like I said, it's a lot of fun. You also get to do reacting to fire, reacting to indirect fire, things like that. So it's a lot more of that combat experience, that combat simulation that you get. You get to put on your pro mask, your mask protection from sea-burn attacks. You get to react to fire, react to indirect fire. I think one of the coolest things about that, though, was we actually had a Green Beret watching, and we got to meet a Green Beret, and the colonel got to ask them some questions about special forces and things like that. So my third and final FTX, the Forge, which is conducted in blue phase. You do these field exercises in each phase, red, white, and then blue. That's how you transition to your next phase. Blue phase is the last FTX that you do before you transition to victory phase. The Forge kind of sucked, actually, but it was still fun. It's a 12-mile ruck march. You know, you're doing 12 miles on foot from 4 p.m. to whatever time you get there. Again, you have all your gear, your rifle, and everything. You're doing about 12 miles on foot. As soon as you land, you drop your gear, keep your rifle on, and then you're told to do the obstacle course, which is where you have to climb a wall, you have to low crawl and high crawl under barbed wire, you have to help your teammates over obstacles, you have to jump over walls while keeping a low silhouette, roll under logs, things like that. And then the final obstacle from that is what's called NIC, which stands for Night Infiltration Course, which is about a 300-meter course where you are low crawling or high crawling underneath barbed wire next to explosives in the sand at night after being exhausted. Right after your ruck, right after the obstacle course, because these things are back to back. You're low crawling and high crawling through just wet sand at night while they shoot over your head with tracer rounds. The rounds are like 50 feet up in the air. Don't get scared, none of that. Like, they're not shooting close at you. It's definitely a fun experience, though. This is a 3-day field operation. Once you complete that, you did a hasty fighting position, you go to sleep. What sucked for us was we had a hurricane during our forge, and it was really cold. raining. The second day, again, you go over everything you've learned and encompass that basic combat training. You go over your reacting to fire, reacting to direct fire, reacting to indirect fire, C-burn, 9-line medevacs, things like that. It's definitely a fun experience. You know, like I said, this is what brings you closer to all your buddies when you're doing these reacting to direct fires and indirect fires, and you guys are just so close together, or you're all just up late at night just talking while pulling security and sleeping together in the woods in a sleeping bag. So when you're rucking at night doing your ruck marches are supposed to be silent, so there's not much talking going on. There's not much, playfulness going on. It's supposed to be noise and light discipline going on. What really made them fun and what helped pass the time for me personally is I used to play songs in my head. I'd play movies in my head. Or I would just look around and enjoy the scenery. You're in the woods. That's something different for me. I'm a city kid. I'm from New York City. So I get to enjoy the scenery of the woods. You get to see deer sometimes. There's just multiple ways to pass the time. And I think what really made it fun was having that MRE. We had a more meal in our pocket. And you get to eat while rucking, which is not something you're usually doing. So you get to eat like combos or whatever comes in your more meal, like your favorite snacks. So that was something that helped pass the time for me. So with the gas chamber, because there was COVID protocol still going on, it was a little bit different. We had pro masks, which had to be sanitized with bleach water and paper towels. Basically, you ruck over to the area with the gas chamber. It's called C-burn, which stands for chemical, biological, radiation, and nuclear. You go there, you get a little class while you're sitting down. They tell you what to do, what not to do. If you have any piercings, take them out. If you have any contacts, take them out, which hopefully you don't have if you're at basic training. Things like that. It's like your amnesty period. Take those things out if you do have them. Hopefully you do, because if not, it's going to hurt really bad. Then you go line up and you get a pro mask and you watch people file into a room, a little shed. And when it's your turn, you put your pro mask on and you have to seal it and clear it. So basically you put your pro mask on, you put it over your head, tighten your straps, tighten your jaw straps, blow out. Put your hand on the seal, blow out. That way anything that's lingering in the mask blows out with it. Then you inhale through the filters. You're supposed to cover it and inhale. That way it suches the mask to your face. That way nothing get in through any loose straps or anything like that. You go in and you're told to get up against the wall in a line. And you've got people on the other side while you're on this side, whatever side you're on. And there are cadre in there. And they tell you how it's going to go. They're going to fill the room with a gas called CS gas, which is an irritant to the skin and the eyes. Basically, you have to, you make sure your mask is sealed, breathe in. You have to jog in place and make sure that you're good. There's nothing bad going on. Then eventually you have to do what's called breaking the seal, which is where you take your mask off and you have to breathe in for a little bit while holding on to the person in front of you. And you're going to start coughing. You're going to start crying. Snot's going to come out everywhere. It's going to be messy, but it's a fun experience and it's actually not as bad as people make it seem, at least not for me personally. And then you file out of the room, walk, do not run, and make sure you're listening to the cadre's instructions. If you don't listen to the cadre, you're gonna be in there a lot longer than you want to be. We had a kid try to run out of the gas chamber and we ended up in there a lot longer than we wanted to be because he tried to run out. A helpful tip: when you get outside, blink your eyes and flap your arms. They're gonna do that, but blink your eyes rapidly. It really helps clear out whatever's in there irritating that. All right, so yeah, the ACFT, you do it 3 times throughout basic. I don't remember if we did them by phases or whatever. I think it might have been by phases. But basically, you have, I believe it's 6 events in the ACFT, which starts off with the deadlift. That switches over to ball throw, sprint drag carry, push-ups, the plank, and then you have your 2-mile run. The deadlift, just practice deadlifting at home. It's a simple thing. Go for your plank, practice planking at home. Make sure you got your proper form. Don't really worry about time or strength or weight. Just when you do these exercises, practice on floor. Form is what's going to help you build up that muscle to help actually hold you there, to help actually lift these objects. For the ball throw, I will say it's not about explosive power from your arms. It comes from the legs and the arms combined. Use your legs as well. And don't go in there trying to, just half-ass the stuff. Go in there and shoot for your best. Go in there and try to get that 600 ACFT score. Don't just, hey, I'm going to do the bare minimum just so I can pass. Go in there. You're there to be better. Go in there, try to get your 600 score, try to get your 500 scores. Don't shoot for the bare minimum when you're there. When you're practicing these things, you get a lot of time for practice with PRT, which is physical readiness training. When you're doing these practice items, take it seriously. Don't just, be lazy, lackadaisical with it. And if you do get injured in one of these events, actually go to medical. Don't try to hold it over because chances are you're going to make that injury worse. And that's not something you want. Yeah, so that varies from bay to bay. And when I say bay is you have what's basically your barracks, and each one is owned by a senior drill sergeant. So that varies on how the senior drill sergeant wants to run their bay. In my bay, our senior drill sergeant, we had to get permission from her to do our laundry. Unless we were on, the only time that the exception was to that was when we were on personal time. So Sundays, for example, when people didn't go to religious services, if they were just in the bay doing nothing, they could do it. Anytime after duty day is done, so when you go upstairs for the night, before lights out, you can do laundry, things like that. Our drill sergeant also ran it by anybody who was on fire watch would help out with laundry. That way there weren't too many people crowding machines late at night when staff duty came in. But that's how we conducted it. Other people, they would just throw their laundry in, come and get it whenever we were back in the bay, throw it in the dryer and just switch off like that. However, that goes by whatever your senior drill sergeant wants, and it goes by however they operate and conduct their bay. Yeah, so I experienced it a couple times. Sometimes it goes by company, sometimes it goes by platoon, sometimes it goes by who's in the bay, because sometimes the platoons are mixed into a single bay. Offhand, I can only remember maybe 2 or 3 times off the top of my head. There was one time my bay got evicted for somebody stepping into our drill sergeant's kill zone. It's like a little area inside the bay that only the drill sergeants are allowed in, and that was a bad day. We had to strip our mattresses, take our mattresses outside, and lunge up the hill, which was like a really steep, really tall hill full of rocks and gravel, and it's basically just like real bumpy. And we had to forward lunge up that hill, across the CTA and back, half jacks while holding the mattress over our head, squats while holding the mattress over our head. We did that for about 45 minutes that day. The worst one was when a couple of people got caught with contraband in the bay. The entire company got their bays not tossed, but we got evicted basically. We had to empty our lockers, put everything into our duffel bags, bring them downstairs while full battle rattle. Full battle rattle is basically your flick, your ILTV, which is your plate carrier with your plates in it, magazine pouches, everything on, boots. We had everything on basically except for our elbow pads and our knee pads. And we worked out for about 2 hours that day. That was a bad day. It'll just depend on how bad the drill sergeant wanted to make your day that day and how badly you guys messed up. Those are the 2 instances that I can remember. A lot of times they just gave us really silly punishments like fire watch and full battle rattle and things like that. But getting your bay tossed is not something you want. We did have our lockers caught. We had our lockers tossed more than anything. So if they found an unsecured locker, it's like love at first sight. Like they love to see that. They're gonna toss your locker. They're gonna throw your stuff around. I had a friend, day 0, we got our lockers tossed, and he never found his second pair of boots throughout the entirety of basic training. Yeah, so that happened a lot. My platoon actually got smoked damn near every day, multiple times a day. One of the biggest reasons why you guys are gonna get smoked is probably for talking. There was one time, about second weekend on a Sunday, we're supposed to get your phones, whatever. Me and a couple other guys had like a protein bar selling ring going on. Basically, we would take the protein bars they would give us that other people didn't want, and I was trading them off for things that I needed, like Tide Pods. I was trading them for, stamps to write letters home, because I didn't have these things. And unfortunately, that's contraband when you have it in the bay. Drill sergeants found out, cadre found out. They gave us an amnesty period to relinquish everything that we had. Not everybody did that, so unfortunately the entire company got smoked. I mean the entire company. We went upstairs, got evicted from our base. Like I said, we were in full battle rattle that day, doing exercises, and they made everybody that had a chocolate bar go up to the front and stand up there. What made it worse is that it wasn't my drill sergeant's duty week, so on the weekends, if it's not your duty week, your drill sergeants have off. They called my drill sergeant in that day to come, and my drill sergeant was really mad because it was a football game that day. He made me stand like this for about 2 hours, my arms up in the Y squat position, while everybody else was getting smoked, and I just had to sit there and watch, which made a lot of people not like me that day. I mean, you're talking everything from V-ups, sit-ups, taking the hill, running, push-ups, the Y squat. Like, you're doing exercises for 2 hours that day. Everybody's getting screamed at. Like, it was bad. Other times that we messed up, personally not me. So everything, like I said, is done as a team. Teamwork is what makes the dream work. It's what gets the mission completed. When you're there, people are gonna mess up, and unfortunately you're gonna have to pay for it as well. There were times that I had to be a full battle rattle low crawling through the hurricane. I had to low crawl through the sand in the hurricane because somebody decided to take a shower when they weren't supposed to take a shower. In full battle rattle, my rifle low crawling in sand in the middle of a hurricane sucks and it hurts. A lot of times that we did things like that. But your biggest reason is probably gonna be for talking, so don't talk when you're not supposed to.
All these neck just wanna be a mini me. All these neck just wanna be a mini me. All these neck just wanna be a